The most satisfying build that I ever played. The damage, tonkiness and the recovery is just amazing. I really enjoyed putting together the whole build in the last few days. In this guide you will learn how the build works, how to level and craft. What's up guys, Pidget here. Our skill choice is Detonate Dead of Chain Reaction. You targeting a corpse and you will causing the corpse to explode, and this will deal a percentage of the corpse health as fire damage. This will continue to target other corpses in the area until it runs out of the corpses or destroyed 8 corpse. Because of that we will using very high life spectres in our Detonate pool. With the new T17 maps we get new spectres that has very high percentage life. Thanks for Root 2 community to testing out the new spectres. So on the screen you can see which spectre is the best for the build. Right now I'm using Disruptor that has 440% increased life, Molten Soul 420% life, and Senior Scientist another 420%. You will use these 3 spectres, but by default you can only have 2. So we will using Void Ionic Ring and socketing level 20 Raise Spectre Gem. Then you can get these spectres in global 6666 channel where other players will help you with this one. How to target a corpse? Hold down A on keyboard. This will bring up the corpse life bar and search the spectres that I mentioned before and use Raise Spectre till you have 3. Then you can unsocket the gem because the game will remember what spectre you have saved in your pool. For more info you can check out the notes section. The reason is why we need high life corpses, because we adding to the mix poison. The higher the spectre life, the higher will be the base damage. Simple as that. By default the fire damage can't poison, but there is a unique gloves that allow us to inflict poison with fire damage. Vulkur's Guidance. With the line, fire damage can poison. And sadly, you need to get a corrupted one with temporal chain on hit, otherwise the build will be very clunky to play and your damage will be much worse than you see here. Because we can't just cast 2 spells at the same time, I'm talking about Detonated and Desecrate. We will use Arcanist brand and we link to Desecrate. With this, your Desecrate will be triggered very often and you just need to hold down the Detonated and watch how the boss health disappears. You will stack tons of cast speed because more cast speed, more Desecrate and more Detonated going off. This is why we choose Pathfinder, because she has access to sustain the Silver Flask with cast speed. As I said, this is a poison build. So we need to reach 100 chance to poison. We are achieving that with Herald of Agony 20%, the gloves itself another 20%, and again, you need the fire damage can poison version. 25% from the notables on the passive tree, anointing toxic strikes, and the rest is from the tattoos. With all of this, we have 100 chance to poison. Our biggest and best multiplier is coming from a secondary source. We will inflict Wither on bosses, which is 90% chaos damage taken increased by default. Also we get an Ascendancy node that will increase the Wither effect and also gives us chance to inflict Wither. I think we hitting under a second more than 40 times. Honestly, it's pretty hard to say, but you can see the Herald of Agony stacks is just immediately at 40. So this is why I'm saying we hitting 40 times at least a second. We will not have problem to keep up the Wither stacks on the bosses. On the defensive side, for the first time in the channel, I was able to reach 100% physical damage taken to elemental damage. Using Lightning Coil, that's around 50%. Good old Taste of Hate, that's 27%. Because we have increased Flask effect node allocated on the tree, and Pathfinder is giving us very huge effect as well. 40% from our helmet, and we're using a Eye with 10% physical damage taken as lightning damage while affected by Purity of Lightning. Finally, I was able to use the newest unique bed that got added to the game. I'm talking about Tides of Time. This bed is just perfect for this build. It has everything. You will get increased life recovery from Lifeless. Thanks to this bed we can have 4.2k recovery, which is pretty insane, so when we take damage we can just immediately top up ourselves. The increased Flask effect is also pretty good for us because we're using all the elemental damage reduction Flask. Also this is increasing the movement speed from the Quicksilver Flask as well. Because of this bed and with that much recovery we can easily use Petrified Blood. If you not used this aura before, this makes us unable to recover above 50% life without Lifeless. But for exchange we will stagger percentage of the damage we take and it will deal to us over 4 seconds. We have insane recovery from our Ascendancy because with taking Pathfinder we can use the Master Surgeon node that will make our Lifeless still active if our life reaching full, making an extremely good with the Petrified Blood. This build would be very painful to play if you just want to mapping. So I needed to come up a good solution that is easy to do 2 and have enough damage to clear. So the clear setup is cast while channeling Desecrate and Detonate Dead of Chain Reaction, and or trigger skill is Cyclone. I think this setup is super good and comfortable to run. I think the build even with the clear setup has enough damage to just deal with the map bosses and tougher rares. Even tier 17 map trash monsters is not a problem. You just spinning around till you complete the map. So if you have some sort of problem with your wrist, you can just play this version comfortable. This build is definition of broken. It has very high damage, tonkiness. The whole build is a big puzzle and I had a very good time to put together. I'm very sad. I need to move to the next build because this one has a special spot in my heart. I was working on this one so hard in the last week and I enjoyed every single minute while I was playing. Okay, maybe when was clunky to play, I just wanted to give up. But this is also a good lesson for you. Don't give up because it's hard or doesn't work in the first try. Make a step back and think what you can do different next time. I would like if you hit the like button like the shaper hitting the adder so it can start spread to more people. Thank you. Few important things you need in the build. Because we're using Eldritch Battery, we need to use evasion and energy shield bases and a pure energy shield base helmet. Using a few unique items in the build. The most important item in the build, Vulkur's Guidance, with the fire damage can poison mud. You need to use Temporal Chain Corruption on hit implicit. Despair on hit works as well, but you will deal way less damage because the Despair curse is scales very well with the gem levels and you don't have access to the gem quality. Tides of Time unique belt. This gives us huge recovery boosts and it will help sustain your Flask and Life Flask as well. Also gives us increased Flask effect. Lightning Coil unique body armor. This gives us really big physical damage reduction. I got a double corrupted one. I was paid for this one for Divine. But you don't have to use exactly this. You can get one reduced lightning damage taken corruption. When I was making the video, I saw 1 to 3 divine range as 16. This is pretty huge, so if you have the spare money, go for it. The rares in this build can be crafted easily if you know how to do it. For this occasion, I put a whole note section how to craft exactly this gear that you see in my character. I will highlight what stats you need to get. Let's start with the weapon. Oscillation Scepter as the base. The reason for this, you will get Elemental Overload Keystone, which is 30% more elemental damage if you deal a critical strike under 8 seconds. The stats you're looking for, big fire damage roll and high cost speed. Then you need to have 1 open prefix and 2 open suffix to craft the rest. Shield, you need to get a base with 5% suppression implicit and a fractured mod as well, plus 1% to all resistance. The reason for this will increase your tonkiness by a lot. Aim, high life and suppression roll, energy shield and other good stats like int is welcome. If you have open prefix, craft fire damage as extra chaos damage. On the boots, suppression, movement speed, craft avoid elemental elements, as implicit avoid elemental elements and action speed. On the helmet, life and big energy shield roll for the Eldritch Battery. Craft freeze damage taken as fire, for implicits, physical damage taken as lightning and temporal chain curse effectiveness. On the ring, life, attributes, resistance and reduced mana cost craft. Amulet, aim cost speed, damage over time multiplier and life. Or annoyment is toxic strikes. Flasks is very important in this build, so please pay attention for the mods. We're using a Divine Life Flask with increased amount recovered and reduced recovery rate. There are similar mods to this, but you need to get this one, otherwise your recovery will be not that good. You can get any suffix as you want because the build is bleed and corrupted blood immune. Using a unique flask Taste of Fate, this is giving us huge damage reduction. Silver Flask for the big boss fights with increased effect and cost speed as the suffix. When you just doing maps, switch to Quicksilver Flask with increased effect. Ruby Flask with increased effect and reduced duration. You need to get tier 1 roll on this one and the reduced duration can be more than 25%. Submod is additional elemental resistance. Topaz Flask with increased effect and reduced duration as well. On this one as well you need to get tier 1 roll. Submod is avoid being stunned. Pantheons we're using is the following on boss fights. Major, Soul of Solaris. I upgraded this one. This is pretty good on boss fights like Uber Cirrus. Minor, Soul of Shakari. And don't forget to upgrade this. This will give you chaos damage taken reduce. For mopping, I'm switching to Soul of Lunaris. I'm also upgraded this as well. Bandits, 2 passive points. I just want to highlight a few things on the passive tree that you need for the build. Using 8 passive cluster jewel with Wicked Pole, Unweaveringly Evil, and Unholy Grace. 2 medium cluster jewel with Circling Oblivion and Flow of Life. The other one, spike concation and brew for potency, using Watcher Eye with physical damage taken as lightning damage when affected by Purity of Lightning. Ancestral Vision, modifiers to chance to suppress spell damage is also applied to chance to avoid elemental ailments at half of their value. Impossible Escape Unique Javel. Passives in radius of pain attunement can be allocated without being connected to your tree. We're taking these nodes here, Melding, Steeped on Profane, and Undertaker, and the small nodes like this. With Necropolis League, we got a new unique Javel to the build, and that's the Perandus Pact. We're socketing here because this is the most dense part of the tree, so we're getting like 132% increased chaos damage. We got back tattoos. This build is using many. The most important is the poison chance one, because otherwise this build can't reach 100% chance to poison, using a few suppression tattoos as well, and my favorite is the life recovery from Flasks. This giving us huge recovery for a small price. We taking Pathfinder as our ascendancy. We take Nature Reprisal. I'm leveled with Toxic Rain. This node was a game changer in the early act. Take Nature's Adrenaline. Now you generating flash charges. Taking Master Toxicist. This is pretty big damage multiplier for a poison build. Master Surgeon as the last. With this you can have your life flask active even if you reached full life. Gem and Gemling, starting with our main link in our body armor. Detonate Dead of Chain Reaction. Awaken Deadly Elements. Life Tap. Awakened Unbound Ailments, Awakened Elemental Focus, and Efficacy. When you're doing maps, socket out your Detonate Dead of Chain Reaction, put another Lightning Coil, socket out the Desecrate here, like this. It needs to be before the Detonate Dead of Chain Reaction. Then, unsocket, Awakened Deadly Elements, put your body armor, Awakened Unbound Ailments again, and you can now use your clear setup. In our gloves, or aura setup, Enlighten level 3, Purity of Lightning, Malevolence, and Petrified Blood. In our shield, Herald of Agony, Withering Step, Despair. In our boots, Spell Cascade, Desecrate, Arcanist Brand, and Faster Casting. In our helmet, Divine Blessing, Inspiration, Flame Dash, and Haste. In our weapon, Immortal Call with Automation support. I hope you enjoyed this video about Poison Detonate Dead of Chain Reaction Pathfinder. If you have any question, please leave a comment below, or you can find me on twitch.tv/Peugeot2. Also, I would like to say thank you for my Patreons for supporting me. Thanks again guys. Thanks for watching. I was Peugeot. See you next time.